everybody. Welcome back to Sit Fearlessly.
Whoop, whoop.
You know, it's so great to watch that trailer that starts the show
Right?
because it
Yes.
brings back so many memories.
Exactly. Yes.
And like it just made me emotional right now. That was so weird. Just seeing everything we've done and you know how
Right.
far we've come and all the interviews we've had, everyone who we've sat down with.
And coming from Brooklyn over here to the Bronx, that was the transition.
Yeah, it's been an incredible journey. But we'll be in Brooklyn this weekend,
Yes,
so
we will.
that's cool. But thank you everyone for watching, supporting. Make sure you're liking, commenting, sharing. Check out our YouTube page, Sit Fearlessly, and we're on all of the platforms. So make sure you're running it up so that we can get those views going. Yeah, and we're just excited to be here. Happy holidays, everyone.
Yes.
We hope everyone's doing well, taking the time off to check in with themselves, and yeah. But without further ado, we have another amazing guest in the building. Yes, straight from Brooklyn.
Yes.
We're representing Brooklyn this time. So we have Miss Camille Evans.
Thank you, Gigi, for having me.
Of
Thank you
course.
for
Thank you so much. You guys
Thank
are
you.
doing amazing work in
Thank you.
empowering women and the culture. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so
you.
much for that. Yes, and we're very grateful that you're here.
Thank you. I'm
And it's good
grateful
to
to be
see
here.
you.
Thank you. You
Yes,
too, Mamita.
yes. I can't wait to dive in, to your
Yes.
story.
Yes.
So, yeah, actually, let's just, do that.
Okay.
So, for our listeners,
Yes.
we like to do storytelling here. That's
Okay,
our
good.
thing. So
Love
we
it.
like to share, how everyone got to where they got to, challenges they overcame, mindset shifts they had to do, just that journey so that we can show others that it doesn't matter what you're going through, you can
Right.
still make it out to the other side.
Definitely.
So tell us a little bit about your background, your upbringing,
Okay.
and how it led you to your career.
So I come from a single family household, my mother. We from Brooklyn, Flatbush, East Flatbush. And I actually went to school thinking I was going to become a lawyer. I was trying to follow into my dad's footsteps to try to get some kind of connection with him. And before that, during the way, I was a very artsy kid. So my mom had me. I was a dancer for Alvin Ailey Theater as a kid. I was one of those kind of famed kids that would go to school in the day and then audition in the afternoon. So I was always kind of in the mix. And then as I started getting into the college years, I started dancing for hip hop. So I was dancing for De La Soul, and I did some stuff with Quincy Jones, and then I was Main Source's dancer. And at the time, I was still going to college because my grandmother embedded in me that education was so important. You could do everything else, but one thing they couldn't take away from you was your mindset and the things that you do. So going to college, getting ready to graduate, they said, you need this internship. I was so mad. And I went to, I think it was Seek, their board, their student board. And on the board that day, and this is how God is always in your life, whether you realize it or not, there are two internships, one for Sony Epic and one for Sony Columbia. I've never seen that before. So I decided to go on both internships, and I get both.
Wow.
I asked which one should I go to, and I decided to go the Sony Columbia route. I ended up meeting a really beautiful, dynamic black woman named Cynthia Rayborn, I think her name was. And I'm just talking, I have a lot of moxie, I'm doing all of this. She's like, you should do marketing. And I'm like, what is that? She's like, don't worry. So she takes me up to my mentor's office, Ashley Fox. And we're just talking and vibing, and she's like, I can't wait for you to join. And I get to the door, thank you, Ashley, and she said, Cam. Like, she renamed me, which was so weird because my family used to call me Cam. She cammed me right away. And I turned around and she's like, you're gonna sit in my seat one day. And I said, but I don't want to. And she said, but you will. So I did my 6-month internship, and what I noticed is that I was so happy to be in this environment. It was just another level of entertainment for me. And I knew that I had a great pen game. I could write. That's my blessing. And I would see the templates, and I would go home, and at the time they had Escape, and they had Crisscross, and they had Cypress and Supercat, and I would just write plans. And I would come in and say, Ash, I hope it's okay. Here's a whole plan. And she said, oh, you can do another one for me.
Right.
So I became known as Sony Columbia as the girl with the pen. And even though I didn't know it, I
That's
was
so
writing
awesome.
people's plans or kind of other marketing director plans, but I became valued. So in 6 months, Ashley decided to leave and take a position as the head of marketing at MCA Records for Andre Harrell's Uptown label. And instead of taking her assistant, she took me.
Wow.
Did a whole EA with her for 1 year, and after that became a director, and I never looked back.
Wow.
And it just went from there, and I would say 3 decades later, almost 3 decades later, and 7 major labels I've hit.
Wow.
Yeah, so I'm thankful.
Wow.
Had a
That's
really
Believed
great
in you
one.
when you
Yes.
didn't. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
And you know,
Yes.
at that time, we didn't have any, we were making the template for black music. And a lot of people don't, oh, I don't like black music. Yeah, it was black music because it was very divided at that time. And so we were creating the blocks and the bricks and the foundation. And it was such an era of black excellence. I don't think anyone will ever experience that again.
Wow.
There was no digital. So we were the
Right.
specialists. There was nothing that you could punch in and say, oh yeah, they got 100,000 streams, which could be fake.
Right.
And that's the new thing. No, we went by talent and artist development, and it was just a golden era of music. So yeah.
Yeah, I miss those times.
I do too.
And I know that a lot of the artists who have survived the times
Yeah.
and are still out here grinding and doing their thing.
Yeah.
I know they feel the same way too, because now
Yeah.
they kind of like have to switch up what they're looking at, and they have to look at analytics. Unfortunately,
Unfortunately,
now
and algorithms and all these other
yes, exactly. When
weird things.
back then it's like the music is what matters.
music is what
artist
matters.
development, like you said, they
Yes.
don't do that at all
No.
anymore. I feel, in my opinion.
And then
so-
there were real, and I hate to take it away because I'm not about that generational. I love the new generation stuff,
Yeah.
but when you saw a star was a star, you know? It was so exclusive and just so special, and performances were just full and vibrant, and it's just the colors in music have
Yeah.
dulled out a little bit. You know, it's still great, but
yeah.
it's different.
Yeah,
It's different.
Yeah, you kind of like have to catch people's eye on the internet first,
Yeah.
and then they'll invest in you. So it has changed a lot.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
but that's amazing.
Thank you.
And that's to show that college, y'all,
Matters.
internships.
Yep.
Hello. I'm a big advocate for college.
Yes.
I'm actually an adjunct professor also, and I feel the same way, like your grandmother.
very
I feel
important.
like even though you're pursuing your passions, you still get some
So
sort
much
of
more.
Yes, when you go to college, network, structure, you know how to
Yes.
communicate
It
effectively.
really separates you in the boardroom, because even though this was black music, it was corporate, and you're working for a Fortune 5 billion company.
Right.
And you have to be able in that marketing room to sell your product and be able to speak in a certain way and know how to
Exactly.
brand something. And that comes with education.
Yes.
It really does.
Absolutely, absolutely. But kudos to you. That's such an amazing story.
sis.
Yes,
Thank
it's almost like your plan was like laid out for you
Written
already.
already,
Like
yep.
God knew, like, no, this is where she's
This
going
is
real
where she-
quick.
right.
Real quick. I love that. I love that so much.
Thank you.
And then you went on to work, with other record labels,
Yes.
Interscope, Rock Nation. So how did all of those experiences working, with all those labels, how did that shape your career and you as a person?
So, again, the era that I walked in the late 90s, it wasn't a transparent industry for women. And there was no Me Too. There were no
Right.
glass doors. Everything was very sexualized, and it was different for women. There was a true, and I don't speak on this much, but it really was, there was a color factor in the music business when it related to women, so there were not too many darker skinned women in the music. I know Arista Records had the most beautiful black women. Like, they had a bunch of beautiful dark skinned black essence vibration women. But most of the labels, there were women that looked like me. And unfortunately, throughout the industry, men did not treat us well. Or it was like a locker room. And for women, there were a lot of times that I was in these meetings and I had to just let everything roll. Because, sometimes I would sit there and I wanted to go, I'm a girl. I'm
Right.
a girl. Hey, with the conversation. But you couldn't do that. Because then they wouldn't feel safe. And then you would be ostracized in a certain way. So you had to, put on those big boxer drawers for girls and just plow through it. So I think it kind of just shaped my tenacity to move forward, take things as they come, and plow through. I'm extremely driven, and I love a competition.
Yeah.
I love a good competition. So
Yeah.
for me, I think it just shaped me to be a better person, to understand the dynamics as it relates to industry, professionalism, the streets. Because, you know, we're dealing with artists that came from nothing, and we're trying to
Right.
mold them and mature them and
Right.
make them radio friendly and all of these mainstream things that they want
Right.
you to do. So, I mean, listen, it was the best life lesson.
Yeah.
The music industry saved my life. I
Yeah.
don't think that I would have not been a great person, and God wouldn't have saved me if anything went awry, but it opened my palette. It took me around the world for free, and it gave me
Right.
experiences that I
Yeah.
can never replace. So
Yeah.
I'm thankful.
I love it. I love that. So let me ask you about, you know, being a woman in the industry
Yes.
and, you know, everything you went through and how you said the culture was back then. Do you feel like we encounter that still where women sometimes don't have a voice in a room full of men? Because, for example, you know, there's a lot of podcasts out right now, right? And most podcasts are male dominated
male-driven,
right
yeah.
now.
Yeah.
So sometimes, you know, women may feel like their voice is not being heard when they're on the podcast or if they're a contributor to the podcast.
So I know people are going to probably like, oh, blah, blah, blah. So the pretty women get it the most, right? I think that women who are nice looking and carry themselves a certain way are always sexualized. I think that we have moved so many steps further, but I think that when you get in the room, you're drowned. You're draining and you're drowning.
Yeah.
I think it's still the same. I think that, you know, I don't go into labels too often anymore, but it's a different energy. When you go in there, it's like walking into a bank. It's so quiet. Like you can hear a pin drop.
Yeah.
You know, when we walked in there, as soon as you got off that elevator, you knew where to go. You were found, boom, boom, boom. You know, it was just music.
It was
and
vibrant.
I don't know if the voice is the same because, baby, my voice in that room, you couldn't tell me anything.
That's
I fought
right.
from. I'm so
Good.
artist friendly,
Yes.
and I knew that I was good. So there was nothing that you could tell me that was wrong.
Right.
I wasn't going to fight for. I don't know if women have that same vibe anymore. I'm not sure. I hope so. Right? There's so many
Yeah.
women doing amazing things. They're CEOs of Fortune 500s. I just think it's not enough.
It's not enough. I agree.
I don't
you
think
know.
it's enough.
Yeah, and even coming off this election, you know, we're not going to dive into politics, but even coming off this election and everything that happened, you know, that's why a lot of us women, you know, felt so sad and angry,
slighted, right.
because it's almost like, you know, it was almost like her voice was being shut, you know.
And the stupid things, ugly.
Yeah,
Kamala,
right.
and-
Exactly.
Like, what do we
exactly.
do? Again, it's these sexualized
Yes.
things just to take away from the
Yes.
real points of what, you know, like we said, we're
Exactly.
not talking politics, but it was
Yeah.
disgraceful.
Yeah, absolutely,
really
absolutely.
was.
But I agree with you. I encourage women to take space. Walk in
Yes.
those rooms like you own it. You know,
Please.
Yes, we have the experiences, we have the knowledge, the education, the hard work, the tenacity, the resiliency. I mean, you know,
The passion, the fortitude, we have it.
yes, we're taking care of families and also working so hard and building businesses. I believe right now, women, especially minority women, we are the top gender that is starting businesses right now,
I
more
believe
than
it.
men. Yes,
I believe it because
Yes.
we've been fighting for day one,
Yes.
especially women of color.
Yes, yes.
And you know, as a woman, people don't understand. We make the best CEOs. We know how to juggle children and
Yes.
family and personal, and then shut all of that off and come into your business and be a boss. You know, I'm at work every day, and my son is coming. Okay, I'm at school now, so I'm like, okay, and did you do da, and then click, and then I have to turn the switch back on.
Yep.
Right.
And men don't have those skills. They
Not
don't.
at all.
They can't take on anything too much. God bless them.
Right, and because they always say we're the emotional ones, and I
No,
feel
I
like
think it's the
they
other way
run so
around.
much on emotion and
They
ego
run
and
so
ego.
much on ego
Yes.
and emotion. It's not even funny.
Yes.
And spitefulness.
Yes, yes. But we're not bashing y'all.
We love you.
We love y'all.
we
We love
supporting.
you, man.
We
love
just,
you.
we're repping for our women because we
Yes,
need to continue to
yes.
step up and continue to kill
Definitely,
it. Yes.
yeah.
And that's why having conversations with somebody like you, you know, is just so inspiring because you,
I hope I'm, I'm
you're a
trying to bring up
trailblazer,
all of the women and the little sisters and my
Yes.
my mentees, because I always, like Ashley told me when I got up, I was like, somebody's going to sit in my seat. And I never worried about that, because when you sit in my seat, I'm at another one. So
That's
that's
right.
great. I hate this gatekeeping
Yes.
and hoarding
Oh, my.
that women sometimes
And
do to one another.
competition,
And like,
I
come on,
hate
girl.
that.
There's so much pie to eat,
so much.
and I don't want to be
so
fat.
much.
So let's go.
Right.
Right? Let's just do
Just
it.
do the work.
Just do the work.
If you don't see where the pot is and you're looking at the next woman who's doing her
will
thing, it's
right.
because you're not doing the work. You're not going out there and putting yourself in position to get these opportunities. That's
Correct.
all you have to do. It's out
Correct.
there.
Yes.
Yes, it's out there. So let's talk a little bit about. You have done marketing campaigns for legends like Mystical, Outkast, Toni Braxton, and so many more. Let's talk about the climate now, and how do you feel artists can successfully campaign themselves?
So, you know, like I said, I don't take anything away from this new generation. I love it. I love the fact that they are utilizing digital and social media to get the gains that they are going. I would like to see a little bit more thoughtfulness as it comes to their artistry. You know, videos were a big thing. It's a huge medium. I don't see enough of that thoughtfulness when it comes, like our videos were movies.
Right.
We were blowing things up.
Yes.
We were coming up with
Yes.
different ideas. I remember when I did Mystical, Shake It Fast, the clean version. You know, we did a whole skit from a whole
Danger.
movie.
That
Like
used to be
we
my
thought
joint.
that.
Yeah.
He was one of my favorites. He was one of my favorites.
Yeah.
You know, we thought about what would come out and what would engage the audience. I think that artists need to just think about a little bit more of that. They need to understand more about branding themselves. The fact that we are all a brand and what that looks like. I don't see enough. Like for me, big thing was like getting a Mystical or an Outkast or a Toni, you know, a car sponsorship, or I don't see a lot of that. You know, you get the certain artists and the big basketball players would get Nike, but you don't see
Right.
that for the
Right.
music artists.
Right.
Like
Yes.
Sexy Red has no big endorsement deal, and
Right.
she's like huge, right? I don't see
Yeah.
that.
Right.
Even with Cardi, and Cardi's huge. I don't see enough
Yeah.
of that transferring into brand marketing and
Yeah.
you
She
know,
did Reebok. I remember she did Reebok, but it's right what you're saying. It's just one.
right. I
Yeah.
don't see you. And she did do her clothing line.
Yes.
I think I forgot. I don't know, who did she do that with? Fashion Nova, or I don't remember who it was with.
I think it was
She's
with
done a
Fashion
couple of,
Nova.
and
Yeah,
she's done some
Fashion
sneakers
Nova.
and stuff. So she has, because she's at that really great, and I love Miss Cardi because
Oh, yes.
I think that she has used social media and her honesty and her vulnerability made every little girl from the projects look at her and say, you know what, I can make it. And that was the key to Cardi. That's the key to an artist, when your fan base
Yeah.
looks at you and they can feel like, oh my God, that's so inspirational. I don't know where that is right now in music.
Yeah, and she stays so consistent, being that way. Yeah, and
That's
even
a-
when she sees her fans, everything. Yeah, like she's interactive, engaging. Yeah,
And you know, the artists are doing major tours. They're doing Rolling Loud. They're doing all of these great stuff. But there's aspects of the team.
I agree.
They don't have a team.
That's
They
an
don't
important
have
thing.
the team.
Yes, they don't have the team, so they're not creating enough art.
And they don't have the veterans because they have a team of their friends, right?
Right.
And they're all the same age, and it's their boys managing them, and that's a problem.
Yeah.
Because your boy has not been in the game long enough to have the Rolodex to be able to pick up the
Exactly.
phones and have the
Yes.
relationships to help
Yes.
take you to the next level.
Right.
That's a big problem.
Yeah, absolutely. But you touch on many great things. I want to encourage everyone who's an artist and entertainer out there. I have this project where we go to Dubai. Shout out to my business partner with Fearless International Agency and Global VIP. And that's something we talk to our artists about is
Yes.
their NIL, their name, image, likeness. Like you said, there's so many.
Huge.
Yeah, it's huge, and they're not tapping into that.
They're not.
Right.
And they're straying away from so much. Technology is something to be embraced. You can't be fearful of it. There's so many things that AI can bring to you.
Yes.
I don't even know
Yes.
how much that's being tapped into.
Adidas just did a whole campaign, and it was no people in it. It was all AI generated. the
It's
whole
amazing.
entire thing.
It's amazing.
With humans. I mean,
It's
but they're not
amazing.
human, but you know,
yeah, it's amazing.
human looking.
It really is. It's
yeah, it's
amazing.
crazy. But I want to move on real quick and touch on CME Group.
Okay.
What inspired you to launch CME Group and your event production company, and what sets it apart in the marketing and management space?
So I'll tell you a true story. I had left Universal Motown under Sylvia Rhone, and I was really getting burnt out, and I want something else. So I went to work for a small agency called Noise with huge brands. And Bacardi USA was one of their brands, and Bombay Sapphire. So I was doing about 36 events nationally, all over in the African American consumer market. They had a Dubai event with the hotel, and I don't want to say his name, but it was the new president, and they did 2 events, and so they had a huge PR agency. No one looked like me. They couldn't wrangle an artist to save their life, so they came to Noise because they knew I was entertainment based. So they did an event with Demi Moore, and I ended up getting, I think, Pink and a couple of other artists. I can't remember exactly.
Nice.
And the commission on it was a huge 6 figures.
Wow.
And guess what I got? Nothing.
What?
Because I was on salary at Noise, so the agency took the whole commission.
Wow.
And for me, I was like, I'm done.
yeah.
I am done working for people that do not look like me.
Yes.
I am done doing all the work with my Rolodex and my time. And I think the slap in the face for me was I even negotiated the contracts, and the lawyer didn't do it. So, I just thought, I thought, it was a quick little throw her 10,
Right.
a little 10% off of the whatever. And I was like, no. And I think the recession hit at the same time. I had just had my son, so my hormones were, I was at a whole different spot, and I was like, I'm done.
Yeah.
And then in 2008, CME was birthed.
Nice.
And for me, the difference between my agency, let's say, and another agency is I just think me. I'm hands-on.
Yeah.
I know what the artists want. I have a background that helps me, and I'm really transparent. I am not here to tell an artist what they want to hear.
Right.
I
That's
am
right.
here to guide you,
Right.
and it's your job to listen or not. And I think that's what's missing in all of this scheme of things is the transparency and people who have heart. I love
Yeah.
music. I love it.
Yeah.
And I'm going to do what's right for you because I knew that whatever decision I made in my beautiful office and, sitting here and we all dope and we all talking about who did what and who went where, whatever decision I made affected your children, their pampers,
yeah.
their Similac,
Oh yeah.
your rent. Like I was
You
really
take it very
cognizant
serious.
on what I was doing and the decisions I made and how I was taking. When Mystical walked in my office, he was with No Limit. And he had all little braids in his hair and all these little beads and stuff. And I looked at him and I said, that is not cute.
Right.
I said, bro, that's not cute. And we went and got a braider and we did those cornrow, whatever they call it now,
Yeah.
back. And baby went up to MTV. He was an MTV darling. And he's Southern, so he would come up there with all them little girls.
Right.
He'd be like, oh, baby.
Oh, that
And
charm.
all that charm. And he just became a superstar. And after
Yeah.
that, and I was the first person, and I don't know if anybody back then did it, but I was the first person to put a rapper. I put him in some kind of Burberry cape, and we went in the middle of the hood, and it was at the cover of Flaunt magazine. And no one was doing those things at the time.
Right.
And I started getting calls, personal calls from Donatella Versace for him, and flew him to Italy, and he did private shows. So that's where I say the power of branding and taking an artist out of this little shell and putting them in spaces that they know. And it's great that now you see artists doing Fashion Week in Paris and stuff. They never did that back then.
Right.
We were the
Right.
ones that pushed that. Well, I know I did. That was so big for me, that fashion and art and music and art, everything was part of this one huge medium of entertainment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. But it's like you said, like so many people like to be surrounded with yes men. So I love that you was telling them the truth. That's how
And
it has to be.
you know what? And I always say with me as a woman, I love to have the most beautiful women around me. I am so non-competitive when it comes to that. I don't want you
Yeah.
looking at me
Right.
when I'm
right.
talking because I want to be able to talk and you just get mesmerized by her. There's a game to how women should play, right? And the biggest part of us is what we give away.
Oh yeah.
And once we give that away in the industry, the power is gone.
Yep.
So you've been
And in real life.
chasing my power forever because I won't give it away.
Right.
Yep. Yep. And that's in real life. That's a gem right there, y'all. Okay, take that gem. We don't have much time left,
No way.
but I want to talk about really quick Zion
Yes,
Visionaries
please. I'm
Foundation.
so happy about that.
Yes. What impact are you hoping to make? Tell us a little bit about it.
So unfortunately, 2 years ago, well, it was about a 4 or 5 year journey. My son contracted a rare form of bladder cancer. I was at Rock Nation when he got diagnosed. So after that, I was done. And I stopped working to keep him alive, and I was able to keep him alive for another 3 years. It was devastating, though, to see. He was my firstborn son, and it was just devastating, the trauma that took place, just seeing this vibrant musician and hard worker. He had 3 little girls, and just to see what cancer did to him. And you know, what I've learned is through trial and tribulation, you'll find your true purpose.
Right.
Yeah.
So it took me a year to not want to jump off a bridge, honestly. And the fact that I have other children, I thought it was very unfair for me to do anything to myself, even though I thought about it, because grief is horrible. Grief never ends. I don't know what to tell. With people, when I talk about grief, all I could do is say, I don't worry about yesterday. I can't worry about tomorrow. I'm just living for just today. So when things happen that take me off my course, like today, I'm like, okay, that's just what it was supposed to be.
Yeah.
So after the year when I tried to find myself, I created Zion Visionaries in his honor. And my purpose is to educate, transform, and teach the business of music and the culture of what we do. And we've been really successful. We've been working in several schools throughout the boroughs and teaching music production and podcasting. We do workshops where we do songwriting, and I have panels where industry professionals come in. And the kids love it because, like we said, there's just no arts medium. So it's so important for me now that my legacy is going to be teaching the little Camilles of the world to become like me. Because when we were growing up, right,
love it.
the only stars you really saw is you had to have a mic in your hand or a ball, whatever that ball was, right? We didn't know that there were people that were whole behind the scenes doing all of these amazing things.
And we talked about that when we met.
Yes,
so
we
now
did.
this social media era is good for us.
good for us.
Because
It's so
now we
great.
don't have to be behind the scenes anymore. Yes.
And you know, when I have no pictures with anyone because back then we were trained that you were not in the spotlight with an artist. You didn't take pictures, and especially as a woman, you'd be looked at like a groupie. So we were always behind the scenes. That's the only thing I regret is that we don't have things and footage and my archives of stuff. I have newer generation of things, but I don't have anything really from like the 90s era, which is really bad.
I know. Oh my gosh, Camille, we could sit with you and talk to you forever. I want to bring you back.
I will come
there's
back,
so much.
please,
You
because
have so much
I'm
depth to
publishing
you.
a book.
Oh,
I'm
you're
going
coming
for
back.
my doctorate, and I want to talk about this new book. when
You're
it comes
coming
out.
back. Yes.
Please,
You also
thank
have a
you.
podcast, Breaking Bread.
Yes.
So everyone check that out.
Yes, thank you.
And to let everyone know where they can follow you really quick.
Okay, so you can follow me on Instagram at CME_GRP.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
This is Sip Fearlessly. Thank you so much for
you.
coming on. I'm your girl, Sue Fearless.
And I'm Gigi.
Thank you so much for watching, guys. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays,
Bye.
everyone. Thank you so much.